We're here to discuss the very interesting Progress Iowa and Citizens United discussion last night in Des Moines at the historical building with the guests, the Senate candidates, Zach Wahls and Josh Turek. And we'll give people a little bit more time to join. Um, I thought that there was a great press corps there. There's some great reporters in Iowa.
We have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the number of people doing excellent work. The Gazette's one of the Gazette's Des Moines bureau folks was there. Register Stephen Gruber Miller, Laura Bellin was there. Who else was there? I didn't see Dave Price, and Dave Price normally does these things.
Doug Burns was there.
Doug Burns was there. Kay Henderson. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how stacked the press corps is.
IPR, a lot of great
Natalie
people.
Krebs. That's right.
Yeah. We're forgetting somebody.
Yeah, certainly. But it's a lot of huge talent.
And some great stories this morning.
I thought so. Interesting talking about the stories. I was interested in how, and we'll get deeper into it. But obviously, when you're looking at two guys who are more or less saying the same things, right? Like the bombs they throw at each other are the most interesting part, right? I'm excited to dig into what's been said about PAC funding and the insider. Who is the true outsider candidate? Be exciting.
Yeah, there's lots of interesting reporting and some different reporting, different angles, different takes. Mm-hmm. I saw WHO TV was there. I didn't get to watch their coverage yet. So
yeah,
a lot of great people. Well, would you set the stage? Tell us how it was set up and what happened.
Yeah, so this was a collaboration. The event was put on by Progress Iowa and in Citizens United. So Progress Iowa, kind of the local communications conduit for lefty causes in the state. They do big work like this, and they partnered with In Citizens United, which is a group looking to get money out of politics, specifically to, as the name would, as you would think from the name, In Citizens United. This was the first time that we had Zach Wahls and Josh Turek that I know of in the same building, kind of fielding the same questions in a format where folks can kind of pick and can kind of see how the two stack up against one another. I was kind of hoping they were going to be on stage together. I was actually really hoping for a little more interaction that way, but it looks like the campaigns didn't work that out, or one asked for the other asked not to do it. I don't know what the story there is. But we had so State Senator Zach Wahls and State Representative Josh Turek, both of whom are in the Iowa Democratic primary for the open U.S. Senate seat. Whoever wins that primary in June, is it June 2nd or 3rd?
Well, I think the 2nd.
June 2nd, will go on to take on Ashley Henson, current U.S. Representative, who's is likely to beat Jim Carlin in the Republican primary and is likely to be the nominee come November.
Yeah, and it was very good. The positions of most of the positions, they're well aligned on a whole lot of things. Yeah. And right. I think ultimately either of them would be, a fine senator, much better senator than Ashley Henson would be. And I need, in terms of full disclosure, I've written a couple of pieces about my support for Josh Turek. So I need to tell people about that. And I'm not used to doing that. I've just done straight news for so long, but I did that. And I think I'll just say now, I think the main issue is electability. He's won in deep red states or deep red parts of the state. And I think that's very interesting. I think that the state of Iowa will have a hard time. I think, being a Democrat from Iowa City isn't going to play well in a lot of the other parts of the state. And that's my position. But let's get in. They are both asked to differentiate themselves from the other candidate. And Josh started off, And he says, I've got nothing disparaging to say about my opponent. But then Zach Wahls came back and hit pretty hard. Would you explain that?
Yeah, well, so I'll say that I don't think it's accurate to say that Josh didn't have a make it very clear kind of what he thinks of as the wedge, right? Zach Wahls has not had an election against a Republican candidate, right? While he has claimed to have won, counties that have gone for Trump in some years, he's talking about Muscatine and Cedar counties. He had a sliver of those counties, right? He's Johnson. They call you mentioned that it's kind of tough for an Iowa Cityan to win statewide. I'm actually in Iowa City right now. You can hear the leftists plotting from this park bench, and I'm going to say that that we joke about it locally. We call it the Johnson County curse, right? That when folks try to get past the post in some of these larger districts, that they struggle. That it's a real challenge for candidates. Yeah, so that was Josh Turek's case against Turek. Sorry, that was Josh Turek's case against Wahls. Is that the kind of an electability argument? Zach Wahls' argument is kind of about I'll loosely call it authenticity, and we can quibble about some of these terms, but let's call it authenticity. He's saying that Josh Turek, Nathan Sage, Zach Wahls, early on before most of these campaigns were launched, they do the Washington circuit, right? They go to try to press flesh and try to get some support from from the establishment. And to be clear, if you talk to folks running elections, congressional races, Senate races in states like Iowa, they'll tell you that you do not have the ability to compete in a big way without big funds of money, right? It's like when we talk about the need to get some of the stark money out of our politics, this is what we're talking about, right? Is that a major part of whether you're Republican or Democrat, you've got to go find pots of money. You got to go prove yourself and try to get support from some of these party bosses. It's been pretty widely reported at this point that Schumer, out of the cast of characters possible, he chose to back Josh Turek, right? And Zach Wahls has seized on this as being kind of his seminal point of his seminal wedge against Turek, right? That this is a year where this is a midterm year that will go. This is a midterm year that is going to support candidates who are from outside of the establishments, people that don't have the party bosses in their pockets, people that can cling to this kind of anti-establishment message. And Zach Wahls has said, surely not the Schumer guy. Surely you don't think the Schumer guy can claim to be the anti-establishment candidate. This paired with the recent Vote Vets expenditure of $2.5 million on ads supporting Josh Turek, I think began painting that these are the kinds of things that folks use to begin painting a picture of to quibble, right, with Turek's bona fides as a anti-establishment candidate. Does that kind of set the stage for you, think?
Yeah, I think it sets the stage, but I also think that Wahls is being disingenuous with respect to Schumer's role. I know Nathan Sage. I went to talk with Schumer and other, people in Washington. I presume that Turek did. I presume that Zach Wahls did. And Laura Bellin asked him about it last night. And she asked him if he had spoken with Schumer. Why this is important is if is it sour grapes? Would Zach Wahls have taken Schumer's money if Schumer would have decided to give it to him? And so Laura Bellin at Bleeding Heartland asked him, essentially, did you talk to Schumer? And he said, well, I talked to a lot of people.
Right.
Which to me is, I think you talk to a lot of people, but if the follow-up question is, if you have gotten Schumer's money, would you have then said that he shouldn't be a leader? Senate leader. So
Which of course Zach says he wouldn't, right? Like Zach's Walls's point has been that I'm not bought, I'm not getting money from these guys, so you can trust my purity, my authenticity. That I'm not doing things, uh, I'm not backing Schumer as leader because he is supporting my campaign. I'm just backing I'm backing anybody but the establishment. Turek, and just to make the point, Turek has not said that he supports Schumer in leadership. What he has said, the point he's made is that he supports the person. I have one question to ask them, and if it's what are they going to do for Iowans, right? What's the Senate leader that can do the most for Iowans? And obviously, that's like a non-answer on whether or not he supports Schumer for the race, but just to kind of give that additional context to the point.
I still think it's disingenuous. It's the main attack line. It
Yeah.
must work. It must poll well. But they all went out there, I presume, and then what the outcome would have probably shaped all of their policies because, as you say, we need the money. It just is too much spin, and it's an easy answer. And he chose not to answer Laura. That's spin. I think that um, that he fought against Democratic leadership and then lost his position in leadership. I think that's spin too. He uses that as
Okay.
a badge of honor, and so
It
I
does.
just see a lot of spin. And what he doesn't, and what it doesn't come out, you're chomping at the bit, ready to say something. But what doesn't come out is the vote to remove him from a leadership position in the Senate was unanimous. He couldn't build support amongst his colleagues because of issues they say related to communication. Contra that is he was a heck of a fundraiser.
Yep.
He did a lot of fundraising. Here's another question that he won't come out that came out in and that he won't discuss that came out in a Washington Examiner piece, which was did he fly first class using Democratic money? And for some people, that's an issue. And I don't know if it's an issue or not. But so I see spin on
Yep.
his role in the Senate and his ouster from leadership. I see spin on the Schumer thing. It's just dizzying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, but I mean, I think your point's right. I mean, a piece that's kind of floating in the background, right, is like Wahls was, put in this youngest person put in this Senate leadership position, and then was like promptly defenestrated after he began kind of pursuing some of what he saw as his agenda. And yeah, if you talk to folks, there's like a lot of there's still some like hurt feelings, some sour grapes, to quote someone in the comment section, about his the kind of changes he was calling for. He was ousting some staffers, right? Some long-term staffers that that he has been on the record saying he didn't feel were in the best service of the caucus. People will tell you that like the problem that Walls had was he thought he had the votes and he didn't, right, for some of these changes that he wanted to make. So no, I don't think it's out of pocket. I think that's like I think that's like kind of baked into the pie here. What do you make of so one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting was the I was trying to I was putting together some like coverage for this earlier today, or like late last night actually, and I was trying to figure out like, okay, how are these guys different, right? If it's like I know everyone is going to write about the who is the real anti-establishment candidate, but I was like trying to like tease out like, okay, like what do these guys believe that's different from one another? But like from supporting a public option for Medicaid to saying no to corporate PAC money to getting private equity out of healthcare and housing, they all kind of hit. It was weird. It was kind of a weird like kind of pictogram, right, where they were like kind of like solving through their each other's agenda. Were you able to pull out anything that felt like a real distinction on policy?
I don't think there was a real distinction on policy. I hadn't noticed that Walls was for a public option before. I hadn't noticed that. I think they're pretty well aligned. I have to say though, just to back up a little bit, Walls hit Turek pretty hard on one immigration vote.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We
Do
need
you
to
want to talk a
bring
little bit about that?
yeah, and he was one of like 3 Democrats to vote for it, and I've dug into it a little bit, and I believe it was during the Biden administration, and it was about, um, deporting people who had done who were criminals, and I don't know, it seems I know there's been a lot of opposition to it, but I thought last night that I thought that Zach hit a blow with it. I thought that Josh
Yeah.
responded pretty well to it, and people need to decide. And so I want to give
What was his response? Do you want to say that?
his response was that he thought that it was a good idea because it only allowed law enforcement in Iowa to work with ICE with people that had committed crimes.
Right.
And the Democrats opposed it, and I don't know all of the reasons why, but I thought he responded pretty well to it. People are going to have to decide. I've talked to a lot of people that work in immigration that were not happy with that, so I've got to give that to
Yeah.
Zach. So
I'm just on talking about immigration. Another kind of point of commonality. They both kind of described some of the reforms that they would need from immigration customs enforcement, ICE, in order to approve a DHS budget. This has been kind of one of the major footballs recently in Congress, and so they just speaking about immigration. This was one difference. Looks like blue thoughts from a red state. ICE wasn't gangsters then, right?
that's Peter Rose. He was there last
Yeah.
night.
Oh, weird. Sorry, I missed you, Pete.
Yeah, so I mean, just for the people that are just coming in, we've sort of laid out some differences.
Oh
Uh,
no, I did talk to Pete last night. Pete was the guy. I called you granddad in the broadcast because that's what I call you, granddad. And he was like, if you call, I thought the conversation yesterday was great, but if you call Bob a granddad one more time,
that's
it was good to
okay.
meet you, man.
Yeah, I got to keep this young whippersnapper in line.
It's so important. Who's going to teach these youths at
Yes.
30? He says at the age of 32.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess what I was saying for the people that are coming in is that I didn't think that, and again, I've said that I've written a couple of pieces in support of Josh, but I didn't think that Walls's answers, uh, whether or not he met with Schumer, he said I met with a lot of people, wouldn't answer Laura Bellin. He hasn't answered whether or not he's flew first class on the Democratic dime. He hasn't, there's just some real problems. He's also sort of spinning his uh, ouster from leadership position into a positive. If 50 of my colleagues said you're not doing a good job, Bob, I would probably, hang my head and said I'll try to do better, or I'll learn from this.
Don't put it to a vote, Bob. Careful. Easy.
So I don't know. There's just a lot of spin and some major unanswered questions.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Like I think that's like what a campaign has to do, right? Like I think that you talk about how like the spin, the ouster story being an object of spin. I mean, like I think that there is like a pretty credible argument to be made that Iowa Democrats have had a pretty hard record, or a pretty dismal record in recent years, right? And I mean, obviously that has a lot to do with national forces, that has a lot to do with cultural forces at work. But it also has to do with leadership, right? It has to do with choices that are made, how we run campaigns, who we decide to fund, who we decide not to fund. I mean, this is part and parcel of leadership. I don't have to tell you that Iowa Senate Democrats have some Iowa Senate Democrats have a bad fundraising record, right? This is an argument that the Wahls campaign made about why he was so abrasive to some of his colleagues, was he was telling folks to raise money. I think both candidates are more alike than they are different. But I think like the idea that him trying to spin the ouster in his favor is like, I mean, that's the work of campaigns, isn't it?
No, it doesn't. That's the problem. That is the problem. People are
I am the problem.
forgiving. Tell the truth. Say what happened. People are forgiving. Yeah, they ousted me unanimously. boy, did I learn a lesson from that.
Wasn't that the? I don't know. That sounds like that. A, that is spin, right? I learned a lesson from that. But
No,
B, I
but
think
it's
that
true.
that's what he's.
If you learn a lesson, say that. I made a mistake. I flew first class. I shouldn't have.
Well, I don't think I haven't confirmed whether or not that's true.
Well,
But
he
you know,
asked me.
yeah, I haven't asked him about for. We have talked about like his travel and hotel expenditures during that period as leader.
Yeah, well, and maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I've never flown first class. Have you flown first class?
One of these days, I aim to. Not yet, but I hope to very soon. When
Yeah,
that
so
big journalism check, comes my way, first class, here I come. Medallion status, I think they call it.
okay, well, are you taking me with you?
Oh, if I get a +1, Bob, you think you're not coming with me to Cancun? Come on, brother man.
Just that there's some unanswered questions, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think the press knows this,
Knows what?
that these questions aren't answered and that they need to be answered.
How do you think yeah, how do you think coverage has been? Do you think it's been are you saying that you feel like people aren't covering them as hard as they should?
All I know from when I used to practice regular journalism, I gave out mostly softball questions and didn't push back because I had conservative ownership, conservative management, and we're
Yeah.
all captured in one way or another, except, now since I'm retired, I can do what I want, and as Zach Wahls has said correctly, I am a loose cannon. So, but,
Has he called you a loose cannon? That's hilarious.
but it's true. And the thing is, one of my survival mechanisms is when I make a mistake, I admit to it.
Yeah.
I want to tell the truth. I fess up. That's what I was taught to do. I learned at about 7 years old that spin doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I don't know. I don't see a campaign out there that's not trying to tell their story. In which the like kind of uh telling your story is spin itself, right? For spin, it's telling your story is like trying to spin out a narrative of like what is the thing that brings you to politics, what is the thing you want to do with power. I don't look at that as like a particularly, that's not a sticking point for
I
me, I
think it's
guess, as a
I think
voter.
it's I think it's spin if it takes you from the truth.
I hear
There
you.
is
I hear
storytelling.
you. Yeah, but like I don't know, like is that not what Josh is doing with the immigration vote, right? That, oh well, it's only limited to these folks that have committed crimes, right? Like that is itself an object of spin.
That's a very good point.
It's one. That's
Oh,
one I'll get this
that's a
call.
very good point. So let's press hard on that. Let's ask him about that. Let's dig
I
into it.
agree. Yeah, I agree. If you're asking me like, do I think that we need to make sure we continue to report on this race between now and the primary? Bob, I hate to say it, we're simpatico on that one. I think we have to.
Yeah. You have to. It's a great race. I know that it's important to have, competitive primaries,
Hmm.
but I don't know, it would be a lot easier if we only had one of them to vote for, I think. But I think the competitive primaries help. I remember, when Hillary Clinton was running, and she was sort of freezing the field. There were 17 Republican presidential candidates
Right.
covering this state, and there
Yep.
was no Democrats. And that Republican messaging, whatever year that was, they all run together to me. I think it was important. And so not having, a competitive primary that year in the presidential race really hurt us. So I see the overall virtue of it.
I'm kind of with you, right? Like, I think primaries are important. I think that I think one of I'm chagrined actually about the kind of current primary, in that like it's actually I would expect the mission of a primary, the work of the primary, to be to wedge your way into, oh well, I support this slate of issues that are different from my opponent who supports this slate of issues, right? So that like voters have something chewy to get on. Right now we have this like kind of um both this are they not the insider, are they not the outsider, and I think that there's a credible argument for both candidates to make that. And that's like, for me, I just kind of feel like our politics are captured, so like it's not that it's a non-issue. Like Schumer, someone voting for Schumer's leadership matters to me, right, as a voter. But like, I don't know. Does anybody? How do people feel about Medicaid for all? Right? How do people feel about uh, uh, I don't know, forcing the Pentagon to do an audit? I don't know. Like, there are like a lot of pet issues that I can dream up here that I would love to see if both or only one agree to. Unfortunately, when it's this, are they not insider conversation. I worry I don't get my toothy issue that helps me vote.
Yeah, I don't either. I have to say that, oh, that's I'm trying to watch the questions here. Sharon Lake has, I would like to know if Zach and Josh will both support actively whichever one wins the primary, so we have the best chance of winning this seat. That's a really good point. Yeah, Marcy, last night you didn't have much to work with either. I did something
Yeah,
I did something different from everybody else, didn't I? I asked a question that
you
I thought,
did, about Iran, right? Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
well, I don't know. I don't know. It seemed important to me, but I don't know. I didn't see any coverage of it this morning, but it was like, we all waited on Tuesday for that 8 o'clock to come, wondering if we were going to bomb Iran back into the Stone Age, end the civilization. And so I asked both of them with respect to Iran if Trump has committed war crimes or will commit war crimes. Um, is the Iowa's entire congressional district complicit? Is Ashley Henson complicit in war crimes? And they both said yes, which I thought was very interesting. And I'm going to, report on it later. I'm going to
Yeah.
first TikTok it, like, clumsily the way that I do. But it was just like, I think that's a big issue. I think I think the Republican nominee to be Senate, having been complicit in war crimes, and it's not just the war crimes, it's the other crimes against humanity that the Trump administration has done with respect to millions of people dying in Africa once the USAID information was cut. A lot of and all over the world, and the soft power that we lost, and the hungry children here. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot to hang on Ashley Henson, and I think we should be doing more of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and I think that's the work of the general election, right? Is to there is a the United States bombed a girls' school, right? Um, I think that there is a lot of accountability to do there. I don't think you're wrong to ask a question about whether or not our congressional delegation is complicit. I think it's a perfectly fine question. I'll say that, like, my interest as a reader, like, I want Ashley Hinson asked that question, right? Like, I want U.S. Representative Mariannette Miller Meeks asked that question. I want Randy Feenstra asked that question. I want folks that are in I mean, like, I mean, like, I can assume that I'm glad to hear Turek and Wahls both oppose the war in Iran, right? That they feel that we are complicit in in the crimes that have likely been committed based on what we know on the ground.
Yeah. Was there anything that you hoped for last night that you didn't hear?
One thing that we haven't talked about is kind of really in the, like, the closing arguments, right? I thought both candidates had really good stories. Turek talked about, God, what was it? Was I remember Wahls off the top of my head. Wahls was talking about kind of when the people, actually, it's been kind of a joke, made fun of a bit, that, like, he's always talking about his breakout speech about gay marriage, but he kind of took it, like, in a different direction than I've heard in other stops. He talked about his being a kid, being why teacher's assignment was to watch a Republican debate. Heard about the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan. Heard about his mother being, but then also heard these candidates, the most powerful people in the country, just like really point the finger and criticize and demean and dehumanize his parents, right? Which I thought was like I thought that was a really human moment. I look as someone who is interested in storytelling, is interested. I want to vote for something. I want to like have like an emotional response to something. I thought that was a really good story. I still think Turek's the story of his election and re-election is super cool. I mean, it's like no wonder that it gets talked about so much, but like I remember the first time he was like explaining how like no, Zach, I literally had to like get out of my chair and crawl up the steps in order to get to, Council Bluffs is a bluffs town, right? It's a hilly area, right? It's not easy to get around with a chair, right? It's super. I don't know. Like for me, I left the debate, the forum, feeling like just excited that I get to that these are our choices, right? I hope in the next month that we drill into like kind of how these folks are different, right? I hope we get more context on it. But I thought I genuinely think both of these candidates are really excellent.
They both did have excellent closing speeches, and I really liked Wahls' take on how he felt as a child.
Yeah.
Seeing that as you just described, I thought that was very powerful. Both of them were very, very powerful, good speakers. It was a good event, and kudos to Progress Iowa and to End Citizens United. It looks like we've lost my friend. Zachary turned his camera off for some reason. Okay, so you're back.
Sorry about
You
that.
didn't abandon us. That's all right. Okay, so we're going to try to do this every Tuesday at noon. We're going to try to hold it to about a half an hour, right?
We're gonna try to. We're gonna try to. I'm still. I don't have a place to broadcast from, so it's a little challenging right now. So I'm not gonna. I can't commit to weekly, but hope to commit to more.
Yeah. Well, just do it from home. We're
Yeah.
used to crying babies. That's okay. I don't care.
All right. Well, we can talk about it.
All right. So thank you all for coming. We very much appreciate it. Um, Send us, put something in the comments. We'll put it up on both of our Substack columns. Share what you will. Thank you all very much.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.